Hello and welcome to Sports Fan Entertainment, and I am joined here by Mr. Titan. He's been nice enough to have me on his channel earlier this season, so I figured what better opportunity that we're here now in the off season to return the favor and have him on here yet again. What is going on, Mr. Titan?
What's happening, brother? Thank you for having me on and ready to talk some Titans football like always.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then, by the way, the links to all of Mr. Titan's socials will be in the description box below. Go ahead and check him out for sure. So we've had a very eventful last number of weeks here in Tennessee, dealing with the coaching changes, dealing with the additions to the coaching staff. Let's just start though with the main coaching change, which was the changing at the head coach position, the firing of Mike Vrabel in bringing in Brian Callahan. Mr. Titan, how did you feel about the transition, moving on from Vrabel and now inserting Brian Callahan overall?
Um, I think it's a good transition. I think it just shows this the Titans offense, the front office that they need change and they want change. Right? We go from Callahan, who is an offensive minded coach, obviously was a coordinator for the Bengals. Again, his philosophy and stuff. I think there's going to be some really good things in the future for the Titans, as well as having Will Levis and really focusing, and hopefully we can develop Will Levis. Man, that's the thing. Titans aren't the greatest at developing players, but hopefully that'll change, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And everyone was kind of expecting, a huge wave of offensive coaches. Ended up being, I think, only like three
Yeah.
offensive head coaches that were hired to like five defensive coaches. But we were one of the few ones that did go offensive and did go with the plan of getting a head coach that could and hopefully will continue to develop our quarterback. And we've all seen what Will Levis has done so far, how impressive he has been. While it might be a short burst, and we wish that he could have stayed healthy and wish he could have been out there more, definitely he's shown that he is somebody worth building around for this franchise. So Brian Callahan definitely seems like a great fit for that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so we have that. So the Brian Callahan addition. When it comes to the overall additions to the staff as well, we have offensive coordinator Nick Holtz, who's now in, defensive coordinator Denard Wilson, linebacker coach Frank Bush. Of all of those additions and some of the other ones that we also have made, is there any ones that stick out to you that you're impressed by and that you're, motivated and excited to see?
Well, it would have to be his dad, his Bill Callahan, just because. First of all, I didn't think it was going to actually work. I didn't think the Browns were just going to be like, "Hey, out here," which is surprising. But the fact that that's the biggest need almost in this whole team is the offensive line. The offensive line last year was terrible. We know that. We needed someone, a veteran leadership, to actually take control and help this offense. Everyone was saying Mike Munchak at one point, which again I would have been okay with. We go with Bill Callahan, which again I'm okay with. He's been in the game for a very long time, was a head coach. So I'm okay with that. And there's one person that could fix an offensive line, especially the one that we have now. I believe in Bill Callahan, and hopefully he could get the job done, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Bill Callahan, he's proven himself over years now, but even particularly even the last 4 years. Like even though he's getting up there in age now, he's into his 60s now. He's been able to do a great job with the Cleveland Browns offensive line the last 4 years, and making them one of the best offensive lines in the league. Making it easier for even a guy like Joe Flacco at 38 years old who can barely move at this point to be able to go in and instantly have success. You have to attribute a lot of that to the offensive line and the strong run game that they've had over the years, whether it be Nick Chubb or whether it be Kareem Hunt or whether it be Jerome Ford, whoever. It just seems like they've been having so much success regardless. And I think you guys attribute a lot of that to Bill Callahan for sure. And to piggyback off of that, a big name that everyone's been talking about is Denard Wilson, and he seems like that guy that would be that next head coach type. Nick Colt seems like he's more of like, Brian Callahan's boy. He's familiar
Yeah.
with his system, so nothing wrong with that. But it seems like Denard Wilson, that's what you look at it and say, okay, if we can have Brian Callahan, who looks like this very promising guy on the offensive side, and then Denard Wilson, who's a promising young guy on the defensive side, that would be nice for at least a little while before, obviously, if Wilson does well, he will not be here very long, but it'd be nice to have that at least for a while.
Well, fun fact for Denard Wilson, the Ravens finished the regular season with the Triple Crown in the NFL. It's the only team to do that in the league with 16.5 per game, 60 sacks, and 31 takeaways. If the Titans could replicate something similar to that, man, because that's what we need, especially on defense. We never got to do. There was not that many takeaways from the defensive side of the ball, and that's I think will hopefully this guy can shape us up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm also impressed by like it's not like the Ravens have just been accumulating like all of these high first round picks or anything like that of course their defense is going to be that good. I mean, not really. I didn't know Geno Stone before this year or last. I mean, Patrick Queen, yeah, okay, that was a higher pick, but a lot of the guys that really performed well were guys that were lower in the draft positioning, even a couple undrafted guys that they've gotten a lot out of. So that's something that's very exciting as well. Someone that could actually not just, mold talent that is already exists, but also be able to mold talent that maybe, may not have been the most talented guys coming out, but are willing to learn, willing to buy into the system, and willing to contribute to this team. Because Ravens have been a perennial playoff team. They missed it last year, but not just because Lamar was hurt, but they've been a perennial playoff team, and they're still getting new guys. They're still improving that defense over the years. So it's very, very encouraging for sure.
Yeah, I think the most important thing that I see throughout the whole, I guess, the the staff picks is just veteran leadership. Veteran, as in they've been doing their jobs. I mean, the offensive coordinator has been offensive coordinator for multiple teams. Defense coordinator, wide receivers coach has been wide receiver. It's not like something new where we're kind of piggybacking off. Hey, this guy's a first timer, and we're gonna see what he does. Like no, they've had the experiences, so I'm okay with that, and I like that. I didn't want to kind of go into picking someone up where hey, this is their first time being an offensive coordinator. Let's see what he has. No, especially if we want to kind of escape the rebuild, even though we are in the rebuild, but still be in contention. Because again, I think the AFC South is still up for grabs, even though the Houston Texans did very good this year. I still think we could be in that race still.
Oh yeah, and that's absolutely for sure. I mean, just remember, like everyone was assuming that the Jaguars were going to win the division this year, and I was one of those ones. I wasn't expecting the Texans to end up being 10-7 and being a playoff team. So yeah, you never really know.
No, absolutely not. And I liked, to be honest with you, I like what CJ. I like the kid. He plays good. I didn't think he was going to be develop as quickly in the NFL as he did. He surprised me, but he's a hell of a player, and they have a hell of a coach, and that team stack, man, that's going to be a problem. That might be the
Oh
thing we
yeah,
have to watch out for in a couple of
yeah,
years, man.
yeah. No, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Speaking of though of the staff and now exiting the staff is Vrabel. What is your assessment as to why Mike Vrabel was not able to get a head coaching job? We heard, the rumor by Diana Rossini. Apparently, she talked to a GM that maybe Vrabel's too physically intimidating, and maybe that's as to why he wasn't a fan of job. Maybe now they're talking about him, being like maybe some sort of analyst or some sort of veteran coach for Wisconsin, which would be interesting for him to make that leap. What's your assessment? What's going on with Mike Vrabel?
Um, it, you know what? It could be a little bit of mix of everything. All right. I mean, look what happened. I mean, the rumors were that he wanted a little bit more power. He wanted a little bit more control. Maybe there's these teams that are already set up already with the GM, with hey, this is what we're gonna run. We're not gonna have you come in here and do what you want. Or, I mean, I've heard talks. I mean, a lot of people are saying that he's trying to do a defensive coordinator, which again, he doesn't have a very good track record of that, right? Of the Cowboys, they said that was one of the landing spots was him being in Dallas. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, it'll be really interesting. I don't think so, but I mean, Dan Quinn wasn't a bad defensive coordinator. I mean, like I said, you can't judge a person off one game, unfortunately, even though they lost to the Packers and gave up the most points they did ever in the in the regular season. I don't know what happens with Mike Vrabel, man. I think, I mean, it's weird. It's a weird year. I mean, look, you have Bill Belichick who's still out there. Mike Vrabel. Like it's a weird year, man.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And look, I gotta say, Mike McCarthy. Now, this guy is an idiot in a lot of ways. He wasn't dumb enough to hire Mike Vrabel because Mike Vrabel wanted that job
Mhm.
to take over for Mike McCarthy if things go wrong, And you can't have somebody on your staff that's just waiting to take your job like
Exactly.
that, man. That's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, that doesn't work out, man. Unfortunately, I think, like I said, I don't think Mike Vrabel is a bad coach, but at the same time, defensive coordinator. I mean, the stats show, man. The stats show it's not the greatest.
Yeah, he absolutely was not, man. We just remember that one year with the Texans before us, and then even when he had the most duties in 2020, before Bowen really took over, yeah, it was absolutely not impressive.
Oh, there was some news too, as well as us picking up. Oh my God, what's his name? It was I think it's a quarterbacks coach that there's rumors about. What's his name? From the Raiders, Bo Hardegree. Did you hear about that?
Oh, actually, I haven't heard about that
Yeah,
yet.
yeah. So it's the Raiders' former interim offensive coordinator that there's
Oh, okay.
supposedly talks that we have him as a QB's coach. And the funny thing about him is that um, he coached also with Brian Callahan in Denver. So that's something. Again, they all tie up to each other. It's the craziest thing. So um, we'll see what happens. I don't know if it's. I know there was talks about it, but again, Week 9 became the interim offensive coordinator, and after that, the Raiders averaged 23 points per game, uh, which is nice. We need we need to score more than 30 points. Fortunately, we haven't done that.
Oh yeah, yeah. God knows that. Oh my God, yeah.
So yeah, so again, he was born in Jackson, Tennessee. Broncos, Bears, Dolphins, Jets, Patriots, and then Raiders. So he has the experience for a quarterbacks coach. So maybe it's something for Will Levis to have. So
Okay, awesome. And yeah, and like you said, it's nice to have that continuity in the staff. And in Callahan we trust. In Rand and Callahan, we're all in at this
yeah.
point. Yeah, so as we look forward, then we're starting to now enter the period. We start to look at free agency. We start to look at the draft. And this week specifically, we've had some players specifically say that they'd like to play for this team. This just dropped today. T. Higgins was talking to the boys over, at least one of them, with the Sick podcast, talking about, oh, yeah, he'd be interested in coming here to Tennessee and, being under Brian Callahan and working with him and continue to work with him. What would be your thoughts? Should the Titans, seriously consider going after a T. Higgins? And then we also had Brock Bowers, the tight end
Mm-hmm.
prospect out of Georgia, specifically, so that he'd want to play for Tennessee, which I thought was interesting too, because this is a guy that came from Cali, from Napa, Cali. And then, I mean, he played for Georgia, but last I checked, I mean, is there not an NFL team in Georgia?
Yeah.
He didn't mention the Falcons. Now, obviously, he probably doesn't want to go play with Kyle Pitts, but he mentioned us. What are your thoughts on T. Higgins and Brock Bowers mentioning the Tennessee Titans?
The Brock Bowers thing was kind of once. I don't remember the last time someone actually went out before and said, "Hey, I want to play for this team." Like it was, and especially Tennessee. Like he must. I'm like, no, he must have read the prompt wrong or something. Like, what the hell are you talking about? They're like, what? So it was interesting. Again, very good player. Could he be a backup to a Congo? I don't know. But I like it. You like to see that. You like to see players are interested, coaches are interested to go to Tennessee. So we're cooking something up. There's not, we're not. They're not just saying that. Which again, it was really surprising being a Titans fan and be like, did he just really say the Tennessee? I think the people that there were like, what is this guy talking about? Like what? He said the Titans.
Yeah.
Now about T Higgins, man. Let me tell you, when you get an athlete like that, a wide receiver, especially when we're struggling at wide receiver, we don't know what Traylon Burks is going to give us. Again, what is year 3?
Yep, year three.
Year three, and especially how our wide receiver core is right now, man, I would jump on if I was Rand. I would try anything and everything to try to pick him up because again, it gives you another threat just in case. Because again, guys were falling to injury, and our offensive, unless it was D Hop was the only one that was showing up usually for games. Westbrook Akina on sometimes not too much, but I would definitely jump on the T Higgins. That's um, a player that I mean, and he's interested. He's interested. That's the crazy part. He's interested. He wants to play in Tennessee. He wants to go with Brian Callahan, and that's where you get the Brian Callahan effect, right? You get someone who's knows the system, knows the coach, and wants. You can't just push that to the side. I try. If I was a coach, if I was a Rand, I would try my best. Now the money has to be right, though, right? Homeboy can't be throwing. I think the money has to be right though. So
Yeah, and for me, the money, that's going to be the big
yeah.
question. But I'm already just kind of succumbed to the fact he's going to get overpaid for my view of him. I like T. Higgins as a 1B,
Uh-huh.
potentially a 1A. Like, he could now, like, without playing behind Jamar Chase, really ascend. Well, considering the fact right now with Seth Hopkins playing as a wide receiver one level, it's fine.
Yeah.
Or he could struggle. It just kind of depends. I feel like you're gonna have to pay him $25+ million a year most likely because he is gonna be that number one wide receiver. Mike Evans is still probably better, but barely, especially considering their ages. So I'm expecting T Higgins to get a bigger deal, and it's gonna be like $25 million a year. It's gonna be damn near AJ Brown's contract.
Yep.
So
And
that's what you're gonna be
I
getting.
expect Mike Evans also to stay with Tampa. I think he resigns with them. Even though I love Mike Evans, man, that would be nice. But I think
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's fair.
yeah,
But we're in a position where we don't have to be that frugal. I mean, we're only paying Jeffrey Simmons. That's like it,
yeah,
and maybe like a Monty Hooker. There's like no one else that's really getting paid on this team right now. So we're in a position to where we can overpay for a player or two. So if it means bringing T Higgins here, I'm prepared for it. I'm ready for it. And then, hopefully, the injuries, the problems that he had this year will be past him, and he'll continue to be 1,000-yard wide receiver. And then we're not going to complain about the nooks and crannies, assuming he comes in here and produces down the road.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and then on the Brock Bowers thing, yeah, that one was interesting for me. I'm not into drafting a tight end at number 7.
Yeah,
I just think it's too high. Even if you are getting a Gronk, even if you are getting, okay, maybe if you're getting a Gronk or a Kelsey, then maybe, but can you guarantee me that?
yeah,
And now he's had like some injury problems this year. You can't guarantee that. And I've just seen with the Kyle Pitts situation. Now, Kyle Pitts was not nearly as polished as Brock Bowers was coming out. But with Kyle Pitts going 4 and TJ Hawkinson going like 8 and Eric Ebron going like 10 or 11.
yeah,
I think it was 10 actually. I've seen it too often just not work out to where I'm just deathly afraid of doing it.
yeah. Especially, yes, like tight end first round is absurd. Especially the way this offensive line is. Again, we got to address the offensive line. You have
Yeah.
to. If you want this offense to work or even be remotely close to something of an offense, you got to fix the offensive line. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You
Yeah.
can't get Will Levis hurt again. Like no.
Yep. All right. So last thing we'll get to on this, and then we'll get you out of here. Super Bowl this weekend, this Sunday. Yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the San Francisco 49ers. What are your thoughts on this matchup, and ultimately, who do you have winning?
All right, I'm gonna give you two answers, okay, about who's gonna win. All right, one answer is who I want to win, which is the 49ers. Who I think is gonna win is the Chiefs. Okay, playoff postseason Patrick Mahomes is another level. That's another beast. He's gonna get it done. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter. He could have a really really bad season, but when it comes to postseason, Patrick Mahomes is it, man. He finds a way to win the games. I think with Purdy, again inexperience. It's his first time. I just feel like they're gonna that stage might be a little bit too big for him. I think they're gonna contain him. I think they're gonna get to him if they can can get to Brock Purdy, I think it might be a short night for him. But on the other hand, if they can use what's his name, white boy running back, I've been brain fart for now.
Christian McCaffrey.
Exactly. If they can use Christian McCaffrey, keep Mahomes off the field, then they might have a chance. But again, unfortunately, it's going to be the Chiefs, man. It's going to be the Chiefs, and then Taylor Swift's boyfriend is going to catch a couple of plays. I mean, they're unstoppable. Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey are they're just sync right now, man. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I'm also having to go with the Chiefs. I think we're just seeing something right now where Mahomes is the craziest thing we've seen in the NFL to Michael Jordan. And when it comes to games like this, I don't want to bet against him. They did have the 1 year against the Bucks where they kind of, in my opinion, got a little too confident, got a little too, feeling themselves. Now it's the reverse of they feel like they have to fight. They feel like they have something to prove.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas then they probably didn't feel like they have that much to prove. They just said, oh, we're just going to keep coasting. We're going to keep doing our thing. Pretty sure they were the best team in the regular season that year.
Mm-hmm.
And they just got snuck up on.
Yeah.
But now I think Mahomes is like, no, like I'm trying to chase the GOAT. Andy Reid is trying to chase his GOAT. And they're just going to come out with a game plan that's ready.
Yeah.
And over the last month and a half, almost 2 months now, the 49ers have just not been playing well. And I have to just start to believe my eyes on that.
I agree.
Maybe they figure it out and they, rekindle the magic that they had in September. But it's a little too late for that. I want to see you playing your best football later in the year. The Chiefs are, and the 49ers aren't. And I've seen in Super Bowls that reverse the night of. I've seen it. But I'm not going to bet on that. I'm just going to bet with what I've seen. And then, hey, if the 49ers come out and they have the spirit of the Eli Manning Giants or they have the spirit of the 2017 Nick Foles Eagles and they're able to do more than I'm anticipating, great for them. And they'll upset and it'll be great for a lot of people, including myself, because I don't want to see the Chiefs just win every year. But I have to go with the smart pick. It's better to pick the Patriots than not. It's better to pick the Chiefs than not.
Yeah, unfortunately. And then Taylor Swift, we'll see her down there celebrating all the Swifties. I love it. It's fun. It's good. But yeah, unfortunately, man, it's just they're a juggernaut and they find ways to win, regardless of how deep they're in or how, it's crazy.
Yep, absolutely. So that's going to do it here. Mr. Titan, let the people know where they could find you again. I'll put all your socials in the description box, but let the people know.
Yeah, just check me out on Mr._Titan5. That's on X or what people call Twitter. On Instagram, it's Mr. Titan5. Gonna do post games, pre games, do player interviews, and all that good stuff. So check me out. Hopefully, you like the content, and I'm good. I'm good to go. Tighten up, baby.
All right. Yeah. Tighten up. All right. Thank you for joining me again. And until next time, this has been MJ of Sports Fan Entertainment, and I'm out. See you all later.